You ever stop and think about what your time, your data, and all that content you post on social media is actually worth? And maybe more importantly, who's the one cashing in on it? Well, today, we're going to dive deep into an investor pitch from a company called Nopia. They claim they have the answer, and it's a totally new model for how the internet works. So, let's break it down. Nopia kicks things off with a number that just makes you stop and stare. $400 billion. That's the value they claim that social media platforms basically took from users in 2023 alone. I mean, it's a super bold way to start, right? It's designed to grab your attention and frame this whole thing not just as a privacy issue, but as a massive economic loss for regular people like you and me. And this chart, this is really the core of their whole argument. The way they see it, the platform itself is gobbling up a staggering 82% of all the value created. A tiny little sliver, 18%, goes to a handful of top creators. And the billions of us creating the content, liking, sharing, driving all the engagement, we get a big fat 0%. This right here is the problem Nopia says it's here to solve.
So that brings us right to the heart of the matter, the big dilemma of today's social media world. And it's the first major part of Nopia's pitch. Who is actually in control here? They break the problem down into three main points. First off, your data and your content. You don't own it. The platform does. Second, they argue the whole ecosystem is just old. It's built on a centralized model that doesn't really work for users anymore. And the kicker, the point they keep hammering home, users get absolutely none of the value they create. This is the foundation for everything else they're about to propose. And right on cue, after laying out this whole problem, you know what's coming next, right? The solution. This is where the pitch introduces Nopia's vision for a totally new model of ownership.
And here it is, their big mission statement. It reads almost like a political slogan: ownership, governance, wealth, of the members, by the members, for the members. They are making it crystal clear that they're a user-first platform. They're promising to flip that old model completely on its head and give the power, the control, and the money back to the people actually building the communities.
And the buzzword for this whole idea is social-fi. It's a pretty simple concept when you break it down. It's a hybrid, a mashup of social media and decentralized finance, or DeFi. The key takeaway is that it's a social platform where you don't just post and scroll, you can actually earn and own a real piece of the platform itself.
So how do they actually pull this off? Well, they're structuring the whole thing as a DAO, which stands for a decentralized autonomous organization. The easiest way to think about it is like a digital co-op. In this setup, every single member is also an investor. You get a voice, you get to vote on big decisions, and you get to share in the success. It's a complete 180 from the top-down corporate structure of the social media giants we know today.
All right, so the key to making all this ownership real is something called the NOP token. This is the engine of their social fi model. When you contribute to the platform, create good content, engage with others, build a community, you earn these NOP tokens. And it's not just some fake internet points or virtual currency. The pitch makes it clear this is a security token, representing actual legal ownership in the network. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a huge mess with regulators, right? And you wouldn't be wrong to think that. But that's exactly where Nopia claims to have its secret sauce. They're not just building a social-fi platform, they're building what they call a compliant social-fi platform. Yeah, compliance is everything to them. It's front and center in their whole strategy. Their model revolves around working with regulators like the SEC, not trying to fight them. They're basically making a huge bet that in the future, all these blockchain projects will have to play by the rules, and they want to be the ones leading the charge. And this isn't just talk. To prove they're serious, they've already gone and submitted proposals to both the SEC and the Senate Banking Committee. This is a super clear signal to investors that they're not trying to be rebels, they're trying to build a real, sustainable business inside the existing system. Okay, great idea, but what's the actual plan to get there? Let's take a look at their roadmap for getting from a pitch deck to a real, live, and compliant platform. Their timeline is, let's say ambitious, but they've got it all mapped out. They're aiming for a trial version this year in 2024, with the official launch in the first quarter of 2025. The big one to watch is Q2 2025. That's when they plan to get private funding and do their formal SEC filing. And the ultimate prize on this timeline? Getting that KONOP token listed on a public exchange by the third quarter of 2026. And to prove they're not just some idea on a slide deck, they flash some of their key partners. They list some big names from the crypto and blockchain world like Particle Network, the huge NFT marketplace OpenSea, the security firm Certic, and the super popular crypto wallet MetaMask. The point here is to show they're already plugged into the industry and taken seriously. Any pitch, no matter how good, really comes down to the team.
and they make sure to highlight their heavy hitters. You've got the CEO, Kevin Lai, a tech entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience, who's apparently scaled companies past the billion-dollar mark. And then there's an advisor, Sherman Tuan, who founded a company that was acquired for $3 billion. The message is pretty obvious. These guys have built and sold massive companies before.
All right, so we've seen the problem, the big idea, the how-to, and the team. Now we get to the bottom line, the ask, and the promise of what this whole thing could become.
So what are they asking for in this round? $3 million, which, honestly, for a project with ambitions this big, is pretty lean. That's probably meant to get early-stage investors excited about the chance to get in on the ground floor.
And here's how they say they'll spend it. Half of it, boom, straight to development, actually building the thing. 30% goes to marketing to get people on the platform. And the last 20% is split between management and having cash ready for when the token hits an exchange. Pretty standard stuff for a tech startup, really.
So they wrap it all up with the big why you should invest slide. It really boils down to three things. One, they think this is the next unicorn project. Two, they've got a clear path to getting listed on an exchange in 2026. And three, their whole compliant social fi model gives them an edge no one else has.
And then they drop this, the kind of claim that makes you do a double take. The promise of a 1,000x return, possibly higher. This is the moonshot promise, the kind of incredibly ambitious projection that's meant to show just how much confidence they have in this whole vision.
And that's pretty much the whole pitch. It lays out this incredible vision for an internet that's owned by users, that's compliant, and that's financially rewarding. But man, it also makes some seriously bold promises. So the final question this whole thing leaves us with is this. Is this really the future of the internet, or is it a very, very ambitious pitch? I guess that's for the market to decide.